Barry, thank you so much for coming by to speak to us and to share with us your plans for the region and how you're taking your role so far, which we understand that you've just spent 6 months in total here. Could you share a little bit more about your role and what you cover in terms of your scope of work?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you very much for having me here. I learned a lot about the intentions of your organization, what you're trying to achieve. That's great. It's really great to put medical devices and rehabilitation on the map here, especially in Asia. So everything we can contribute, I will. So thank you very much. My name is Barry Hes. I'm Dutch. Maybe you heard from the accent, but I'm Dutch. 43 years old. I have a wife and 3 children under the age of 10. And as you said, we moved to Singapore 6 months ago. So it has been quite a journey, both from a personal and business perspective. Challenging times, but fun. I'm a mechanical engineer from background. I started in the robotics industry after my studies. The first job I took for 5-6 years was in the development of robotic devices in warehousing or people transport, autonomous driving vehicles. One of our clients was Shimano here in Singapore, so I think my first visit to Singapore was around 17 years ago. So Singapore has always been on my mind since then. After the robotic devices in warehousing, I went to the medical industry. I had the opportunity to become a technical director in a small startup that made cancer treatment devices, which at the time really looked cool, and using all my technology skills in order to save lives, basically. Challenging times there. We brought a new device to the market, a Class 3 medical device, so a lot of regulatory work had to be done. It was also radioactive, so that's another class you have to fulfill. All great, but what decided me to move on from there is the restrictions at the end of medical device registrations and regulations. I know we need to have that safety for patients, that's very important, but I think we're overshooting ourselves a little bit, and that's slowing down innovation. Right. And I'm a mechanical engineer, I love innovation, so I don't want to be really bound to that. Of course, we will never sacrifice patient safety, of course, but you can go too far. And just before I got too frustrated, I got a huge opportunity to join Motec. Motec is a Dutch company who makes advanced rehabilitation equipment for research and university hospitals. It's a lot about VR. We basically make a big sort of flight simulator with VR, AR, and motion capture, where we can control an environment of a person and can really see what kind of treatments work. So that could be either in a physical area, like stroke, but also like trauma. You can put these patients into a trauma situation. I've been with Motec for 10 years in total. The last 5 years I was the CEO. In 2015, Motec was around 100 people, and we had customers all over the globe. We got acquired by DH. And the reason we joined DH is one, it provided us with capital to grow further and to fulfill our vision to bring all those devices to patients. And second was the access to the Chinese market. The Chinese market is huge, so for us that was a great opportunity. So the first year, like 2015, beginning of 2016, I spent a lot of time integrating the two companies. A lot of cultural challenges, obviously. And during that process, we also acquired another 4 companies. And one of the biggest one was mid-2016 was Hocoma. Hocoma was well known to Motec, Swiss company, also into the robotic devices, but already more on the hospital side. So where Motec was more on the research side, Hocoma was already more on the hospital use side. Global leader in neuro rehabilitation. Big company that was added to the group, so some additional cultural and organization challenges there. And the last 2 years, I basically spent my time on integrating those two companies together with the Hocoma CEO. One of the most important tasks of integrating was not only to get the synergies from the development side, but also get the synergies from the distribution side. So that's the sales, service organization, clinical training, those kind of things. And we needed to merge those organizations in order to get the full synergy out. And for that we used the existing Hocoma hubs. Hocoma had 4 hubs all over the world, one in Europe, obviously. We have one in Boston, covering US and Canada. We have one in Santiago de Chile, covering Latin America. And we have one in Asia, Singapore, to cover the Asia area. And when that opportunity came along of reorganization, I basically put myself into the box to go to Singapore. As I mentioned, I have a love for Asia, my wife lives in Asia, and I think the biggest challenge and opportunities for our company are actually in Asia. So that's where we are now, 6 months down the line. Already or just, I don't know. It feels like an incredible journey so far.
You said at the start of our interview that you are a mechanical engineer actually. But your growth in the business and in very different fields, and the work that you're doing right now in terms of integration, sales channels, supply chain, IPO preparation, it takes a very, very broad-based skill set to be able to do so many things well. Sometimes it's down to the individual, but it's also because of the support that you have as well.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share with us a little bit more about the difficulties you have faced and what skills you found critical to be able to move from a functional expertise to a very broad-based CEO, C-level position?
Yeah, you're right. Everything you mentioned, you don't learn as a mechanical engineer. So all that knowledge is basically down the drain. I still love to talk about technology, and we're still a technology business. So when I talk to clients, it is often still about the technology. But of course, talking to clinical experts, talking to the financial world, talking to the commercial people and train and coach them is a completely different skill. But we're a big company now. You're not on your own, so you can get help. And what I see myself is more being a facilitator and make sure that the right people are connected. So if we have best practices in Europe or the US, how can we translate it with all the cultural, political, religious things in mind to a solution that also fits in Asia? And that's where I see my role as a sort of a facilitator.
Right. You didn't mention something in when you shared about the scope of your role here. You obviously play a huge role within the entire business. But you've moved to Asia, and that gives us an indication of how important this market is, not only for China, but because of the entire Southeast Asian region. Could you share with us a little bit more about the decision behind that and where you see the company going to within this geographical area?
Sure. If you look at Asia, you mentioned China. Well, Asia is not China.
Yes.
There's a lot more. My role is to support China. I speak a little bit Chinese, but for us that's a completely different market, very different dynamics than the other parts of Asia. So China is for me more supporting and bringing the Motec brand, the research brand also to China, because that research market is a boom there. But my primary focus is on the countries outside of China.
Exactly.
And there you have another big challenge, because it's a vast region of many countries, more than 30 countries,
Yes.
where we see huge cultural, political, economic, religious kind of differences. So there's not one approach to meet all the demands of those customers. Don't compare Myanmar with South Korea, for example, and even on South Korea with Japan, it's already different. So we have multiple strategies in place to make sure that we can bring our technology to as many patients as possible. And that's not easy. It's not as easy as it was in Europe or the US. We have to be smart. We have to come up with innovative business models, innovative price models. But it's not only about price of the equipment. Of course, we have expensive equipment, and we want to make it affordable for every patient. But it's also about the use of our products. Maybe the products need to be modified to the size of the Asian people. Language requirements. It's not all English, you cannot get away with that. Regulatory, and I mentioned regulatory earlier. In Asia, it's changing so fast. You have countries with no regulations, and from one day to another, they just copied something, or they have. And just adapting to that is already a lot of work.